Walters is the place to be if you're headed to any of the concerts this week at Nationals Park while the team is on the road. Foo Fighters on Monday, My Chemical Romance on Tuesday evening, with Jason Aldean and Luke Bryant taking the stage on Thursday. Walters is located across the street from the ballpark.
The 1-1 is driven to deep left center field for Ortiz. Way back it goes. Robert on the run, and it's gone. Abimelec Ortiz goes opposite field, right over the 370 mark in left center field. He continues his impressive power display. Nationals lead at 2-0. Ortiz, fifth long ball. The 0-1. Swing a drive, well hit straightaway center. Young back to the warning track at the wall, and there it goes. Irvin can't believe it. He looks to the sky. That ball just kept carrying over the right center field fence, and the Mets have a 3-2 lead on a home run by Terrence.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss to the 4th ball for strike 3. And this one belongs to the Mets. And so does this 3-game series with a sweep of the Nationals here at Citi Field. A 1-2-3 inning for Kodai Senga in the 9th. 1 pitch to Bibas. He gets Tainted, the pinch hitter, to strike out on 5 pitches, and then 5 more to get Ford. An 11-pitch 9th inning.
And welcome to Nats Chat. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. I'm joined by Washington Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com. He is at Citi Field in New York City. What has happened to the 2026 Nats being road warriors? The Nats now are just 1-10 over their last 11 road games, all of which have been against National League East rivals. A 4-3 loss at the New York Mets on Sunday afternoon, completing a 3-game sweep. This was a game in which the Nats blew a 2-0 fourth-inning lead. The Nats in each game in this series blew a lead of some significance. The Nats now are 60-66. Run differential of plus 18, 33-30 on the road versus 27-36 at home. The Mets now are a National League East worst 56-69 with a run differential of minus 42. But we say hello. We say thank you for listening. This installment of Nats Chat brought to us by the composer of the Nats Chat theme song, Tim Newmark. Check out his work by going to his website, timnewmark.com. Newmark is spelled Neumark. timnewmark.com. Tim's a great guy, does great work. The Nats pitching in this series was far from perfect, no doubt, but the Nats over the 3 games totaled a mere 8 runs. If you are diagnosing what went wrong for the Nats in this series, you start with the offense, and we understand what has happened here. The Nats, in the lead up to the 2026 MLB trade deadline, which was on August 3rd, traded away 3 key guys in infielder Curtis Mead, first baseman Luis Garcia Jr., and starting pitcher Foster Griffin. The Nats, the next day, August 4th, announced having put outfielder James Wood on the 10-day injured list due to a left oblique strain. And by the way, his recovery has been slower than expected. We got that update from manager Blake Butera via his pregame media session that started late Sunday morning. The Nats offense down multiple key guys, and the offense being without these key guys is showing. The Nats have plummeted in the National League wildcard standings to whatever extent you're still following those. 0-3 to start this 9-game road trip. You know, Mark, we said that this was a very manageable road trip. Still may be, but so far, not so good for the Nats on this road trip.
I feel like we've fallen into this trap before, Al, where we talk about a schedule for them that is supposedly easing up, and it turns out to be the exact opposite for them. Let's be clear, the New York Mets are not a team that they should be that intimidated by, not in their current form. And what happened? They got swept at Citi Field. And you mentioned what's going on with the offense. I think it's pretty clear that they may still hold the title of the highest scoring offense in baseball, but when you watch them play, it does not feel like that's what this team is. The losses because of the trade deadline, the James Wood injury, of course. And I'll tell you what, this weekend, at least C.J. Abrams did next to nothing. 0 for 10 with a couple of walks and a hit by pitch. Now, he's entitled to go through a little slump because he's been so good for so long and carried them so much during the season. The key, as we've seen with him, is that he can't let that turn into something much more than a bad series or a bad week and not let it turn into a bad month. And as we discussed the other night with the pending position switch, where is his head at right now? I'm not correlating the two together, not yet, but Would it shock me if he went through a more prolonged slump right now, given the state of the team and given what's happening with him personally? No, I would not be shocked if that were to happen. I think this is a big test for him now to get back on track. And I understand the season for the team has gone south. All the support he had in the lineup is not there anymore. He's about to make a position switch that he's probably not real happy about, but he's still got to show that he can be an MVP caliber hitter the rest of the way. And so I will be very interested to see how that goes.
What about the James Wood situation? When this injury happened, you and I talked about how, while the Nats expressed great optimism that he would not be out for long, these oblique injuries are nagging, they are stubborn, they are hard to predict, and, the Nats don't exactly have a stellar track record when it comes to projecting how long an injured player will be out. So here we are now. We are past the point at which he could have been activated. He has not been activated. And then we get this bad news from Blake Butera on Sunday in his pregame session with you guys.
It's been pretty slow recently. Just hasn't subsided the way we'd like it to. So not a whole lot going on in the moment.
What do you make of where we're at with James Wood and his recovery from this oblique ailment?
I don't think anyone should be surprised by this. We kind of had a hunch that this might not be quite as fast as they were hoping that it would be. Now, to be clear, he hasn't had a setback. He's just not progressing as fast as they hoped that he would. And so because of that, he's not being shut down. He's still doing some defensive drills, some light swings and things like that. But it's not healed enough yet where he can ramp things up as far as how hard he's swinging, the types of swings he takes, the kind of defensive work or base running exercises that you might do when you know that you're in good shape. He's just not there yet. And let's be frank, given what's happened with the team in the 2 weeks since he went on the IL, there's probably a lot less motivation to try to push through this from their standpoint. I don't think they wanted to shut him down for the year. I don't think that's valuable. I think it's important as long as he's healthy enough that he come back and try to finish the season strong, because it's been such a phenomenal year for him. But I do think if they are still right in the thick of the wild card race, they might be more willing to push this and give it a shot as opposed to being very cautious with it. There's no reason to get him back out there before he's absolutely ready.
Well, the Nats offense in this 4-3 loss at the Mets on Sunday afternoon, not good. 3 runs, 5 hits. That was it. 5 hits, a home run and 4 singles, 2 walks, 11 strikeouts, 2 for 6 with runners in scoring position. If you're looking for a bright spot, Abimelec Ortiz. This guy is a ton of fun to watch. He homered again. Ortiz is the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter, 1 for 4 with a solo homer. Ortiz in the Nats 1-run third, a 2-out opposite field solo homer to left center field for a 2-0 Nats lead. We also had K-Bit Ruiz in this game as the Nats starting catcher and number 8 batter, going 2 for 3 with 2 RBI singles, and actually some interesting stuff with him regarding those singles. We'll get to that. But Abimelec Ortiz, you talk about a bright spot in recent weeks. This guy has been it, and making some Nats history, or at least equaling some Nats history with him homering for a 5th time over 14 Major League regular season games with the Nats.
It's only been done once before, and it was by our good friend Joey Fourbags. Joey Meneses had 5 homers in his first 14 games, and we remember what that was like and how exciting that was. And then we also remember how it didn't necessarily sustain itself in the long run. Now, that said, there's only 3 other guys who've hit 3 home runs in their first 14 games in the big leagues while debuting for the Nationals. And there's some very interesting names in that group. It's Dylan Cruz, it's Juan Soto, and it's Danny Espinosa. So very interesting names when you take that whole list together. If you're trying to figure out, is this legit? Is this just a super hot start and it's never going to be sustainable for him? Here's what I will say about Ortiz. It's not just that he's hitting these home runs, but the way that he looks at the plate does look legitimate to me. He's taking pitches out of the zone. He's got good plate discipline. He's swinging at the right pitches. He's hitting the ball hard. And a couple of these home runs have been to the opposite field. If you can do that with any kind of regularity as a left-handed hitter, drive the ball to left center field like that, one of those names on that list is somebody who did that a lot and continues to do that, and that's Juan Soto. I'm not going to say that Abimelec Ortiz is going to turn into Juan Soto, but generally speaking, if at a young age you have that ability to drive the ball to the opposite field like that, I think that portends well for your chances of being a successful big league hitter. Long way to go, but so far really impressed, not just with the production, but just the way he looks up there.
Abimelec Ortiz, 14 games, 41 plate appearances, OPS of 1,017. I mean, what a treat he has been to watch. Batting average 300, on base percentage 317, slugging percentage 700. I mentioned what happened with Keibert Ruiz in this game. He is the Nats starting catcher and number 8 batter, 2 for 3 with a couple of RBI singles. Now, one of them did result in an out on the base pass, not by Ruiz, but he and the Nats, 1-run second, had a 2-out RBI single to right center field to put the Nats up 1-0. But Brady House got tagged out in a rundown and trying to advance from first base to third base for the out.
Throw to second. House now caught between second and third. He's chased by Bichette. Throws it to Lindor, who tags him out, and the inning is over.
And then Ruiz in the Nats 1-run seventh had a 1-out RBI single into right field to cut the Nats deficit to 4-3. And, you know, when you're bashing homers and, you know, lacing doubles, outs on the base pass don't stand out as much. We haven't had those conversations when the Nats have been putting up, 6 runs, 7 runs, 8 runs. But in a game like this, you lose it by 1 run. You go back to certain moments. And one of those moments is Brady House getting tagged out on that Keibert Ruiz RBI single in the Nats 1-run second.
Sure, and this was a weekend that had several outs on the bases by the Nationals and a couple of 1-run losses, and that does stand out more, like you said. Now, in this case, it's 2 outs, so you're running on contact, so that should not be an issue for him. I think what it boiled down to is that Dalen Lyle's in front of him leading off second base, and it was one of those situations where you had to make sure that the third base coach is going to wave him around or not, because it was a hard hit. It was not automatic that he was going to send Lyle around third. Now, Estevez does that. Lyle goes. It's up to House to immediately pick that up and keep going, and instead he kind of hit the brakes. I don't know. We didn't talk to him after the fact, but I wonder if there was a little bit of him that stopped thinking he needed to get into a rundown just to make sure that run scored. He did not want to be tagged out prior to it. I don't think that was going to be a problem. Lyle was going to score. The throw obviously didn't come in there. I wonder if it might have just been a case of him overthinking a little bit too much instead of just reacting and with 2 outs, go ahead and run the play out. They were going to score the run. Maybe he gets thrown out at third. Maybe he makes it in safe. Either way, it was not a great weekend from their standpoint, from a base running perspective.
Well, I will say this about Brady House. At least he did do some things in this series offensively, especially when James Wood went down. One of the things I said to you was, okay, it's step-up time for the likes of Brady House and Dylan Cruz. Dylan Cruz, where is he exactly? He, in Game 1 of the series, came off the bench to play right field. He, in Games 2 and 3 of the series, was the Nats starting right fielder, was the Nats number 1 batter in Game 2, was the Nats number 3 batter in Game 3. He, over the 3 games, went 0 for 9 with no walks. Your Dylan Cruz slash line for this month of August now, batting average 143, on base percentage 172, slugging percentage 250. He had the major league level in this regular season, which began with him playing, remember, for AAA Rochester, off having been optioned to Rochester on March 20th before being recalled on May 19th, now has an OPS of 641. One of the things I wish I could ask, a Paul Taboni or a Blake Butera or a Matt Borgschulte is this. Why can Abimelec Ortiz do as he is doing, but Dylan Cruz doesn't? Like, what is the difference? Why can Ortiz hit the ground running and make it look so easy, whereas with Dylan Cruz, it is this fierce, tense, tight struggle session where he, over now a growing sample size of major league plate appearances, just cannot get going. He doesn't get hot. Like, if you look at his various stints at the major league level, he's never really gone on any kind of a tear. And the best we've been able to say is, well, he's hitting balls hard. I'm making fun of us talking, but that's what we have to say. Well, he's hitting balls hard. Okay, fine, great. There's no production. It doesn't come. It's not happening. And it just so stands out when you see Abimelec Ortiz do as he is doing. Why can Abimelec do this, but Dylan Cruz can't? This is what I think a lot of us are grappling with right now.
By the way, Cruz crushed a ball in this game to the wall in right field, and Carson Bench made a tremendous catch. But I'm laughing because this is what keeps happening, that those little glimmers when it seems like he might be doing something well, and it doesn't even translate into actual results. And he hasn't had nearly enough of those kind of loud contact moments lately to make up for that. I think it probably boils down to a couple of things. Number one, pressure that maybe outside forces and even internally he puts on himself because of the hype being the number 2 pick and everything else that came along with that. And then the struggles early on in his big league career, being sent down and probably feeling to himself like, man, I got to make this happen. I've got to do this sooner rather than later. And it's just leading to even worse results. Whereas a guy like Ortiz perhaps did not have that same kind of attention and pressure on him. Let's also remember Ortiz was absolutely crushing it at AAA before his call up, and sometimes that can translate to the big league level. I know Cruz was doing better before the call up, but he still has not had that like dominant stretch in the minors where you said, okay, he is forcing the issue to be called up. Now it's too late to do anything about any of that. I think what stands out to me about when I'm watching him right now, 2 things. He's swinging a lot. He's not working the count. You cited the on-base, numbers. It's not good. Barely above the batting average. He is not drawing walks. He is not getting himself into good counts. That's number 1. Number 2, when he does swing, I'm no hitting expert, but it's hard to not see the fact that he drops his back shoulder, and it's this kind of uppercut swing that they just don't teach you to do in the big leagues. And he ends up swinging underneath a lot of stuff, popping up stuff. It's just not consistently good contact from him. I wonder if he's going to need a real overhaul of his swing, and that's a hard thing to do in the middle of a season. And maybe that's something that is going to have to be addressed this winter with him. He does not have a swing that looks like one that you think should be successful in the big leagues. And when you combine that with probably an overly aggressive approach and not being willing to work the count, that's how you get the kind of numbers that he has right now.
Yeah, and when you do a deep dive on the batted ball data, and I won't, subject everyone to the numbers right now, like some of it is better than the actual results data, but it's not so good to where you're like, man, this guy is just so, struck by bad luck. Like, even some of the batted ball data isn't necessarily as great as, people might think. I'm sympathetic to guys who hit balls hard to the warning track and it gets caught and it's like, what are you going to do? I understand that. But, you can write that story for a lot of guys. Like a lot of guys over the course of a season have well hit balls that don't result in hits. And at some point you need to produce. And it just is really aggravating with him. I'm sure it's frustrating for him, but man, it really stands out right now. Abimelec Ortiz comes up. He makes it look so easy. And you're like, why can't Dylan Cruz do this at any point during his time at the major league level? Al Galdi here to tell you about Window Nation. But before that, the Window Nation look into the future.
Here's the 1-2. Swing and a fly ball to right. This traveling well. Nishida back to the wall, looking up. It's out of here. A wall scraper. Seaver King with an opposite field solo homer. And the Red Wings get that run back right away. It's now 6-4.
Hey, Al Galdi here for Window Nation. If you're using chat to research your next home improvement project, forget the prompts. We've got all the details on a company that you can trust. For replacement windows and doors without the hassle, just look up Window Nation. Window Nation is the real deal. Homeowners across the country love the one-day installation process, especially since Window Nation installers leave your home cleaner than when they started. And this month, you can get 50% off all window styles, plus 0 down, 0 interest, and no payments for 2 years. That's a lot of savings on top of quality windows and doors. 866-90NATION or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. Window Nation, the real deal when it comes to replacement windows and doors. 866-90NATION, windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat, emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending, 0 tears.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
Now the pitch. Swinging a ground ball right side. It is fair. Past the diving Ortiz down the line. Caroms off the stands back toward the infield in foul ground. Lindor has scored, and into second is Young with a double. And the Mets get the 2-out run home. They now lead 4-2.
Well, the Nats in this 4-3 loss at the Mets on Sunday afternoon had Jake Irvin as the team's starting pitcher. And, he had what really has become a typical Jake Irvin outing. This is entering like Patrick Corbin, Trevor Williams, Miles Michaelis, Zach Littell territory now, where it's like we've become accustomed to this. This is kind of what Jake Irvin is. 4 runs in 6 innings. He gave up 8 hits, which were a home run, 2 doubles, and 5 singles, issued 3 walks. Did record 6 strikeouts, did throw a good number of strikes, 98 pitches, 64 strikes, 34 balls. And the Nats relief pitching in this game actually was good. 2 Nats relievers combined for 2 scoreless innings. Max Kranick, scoreless bottom of the 7th, despite giving up a 2-out triple. Jake Bird, scoreless bottom of the 8th with 2 strikeouts, despite giving up a 1-out single. Like I said earlier, the Nats pitching in this series was not perfect, understood. The offense, though, was the bigger problem. The pitching in this game, in a lot of ways, gave the Nats a chance to win. If the offense had been halfway decent, maybe this is a Nats win, but that was not the case.
No, but it's 4 runs in 6 innings by Jake Irvin, and you mentioned some other names of recent Nats starters who did not have sterling records for them, and it felt very much like that. You gave him some length, but you gave up more runs than you probably should have, and the bottom line is this guy's got a 5.80 ERA in the big leagues this year and over 5 now in his career, and he's got well over 100 starts. So it's not like, we're still kind of waiting to see, maybe he's going to develop into something. I think he's kind of getting to the point that you say this is who he is. And to me, the frustrating part of that is in talking about this game afterwards, he sounded like he was content with it. And he said he wishes he had the pitch back to Luis Torrens that turned into a home run. That was a 92-mile-an-hour meatball right over the plate, and it's a 2-run homer. But he felt like outside of that, he was really pleased with the approach and the way they went about it. And I'm like, okay, I suppose you take out the home run and he goes 6 innings and gives up 2 runs. But he walked 3. He gave up 8 hits. His pitch count was super high early on. He's at 54 through 3 innings. This has been a recurring issue for him where he's kind of digging himself into a hole early on because of that. You're throwing at times 92, 93 miles an hour. I just don't feel like this should be anything to celebrate or be optimistic about with him. And it speaks to a larger point that has been a problem here for a while now, is that there are guys who, despite the overall numbers not being great, are pretty much just assured of continuing to make a start every 5th day because they don't have better options, or the team does value, I guess, the innings that they give them, and they don't want to throw others into the fire. And the trade of Griffin, the DFAs of Michaelis and Littell, they can't really afford to drop anyone else from the rotation at this point. Even if Irvin struggles, I don't think they could get away with that right now. And so he's going to continue to pitch for them. But I'm left wondering, how does he fit into this in the long run? He's still under club control as an arbitration guy. Are you satisfied with a 5 ERA moving forward? Or at some point, should that guy's job be on the line and not be assured of getting to make every single start as long as he's healthy?
Yeah, I mean, I think I said this to you after his last outing. To me, he's such a non-tender candidate this coming offseason. I mean, he was a non-tender candidate last offseason. I don't know what the point of continuing with him anymore is. It's funny, last offseason, the 2 big non-tender candidates were Jake Irvin and, does everyone remember, first baseman Luis Garcia Jr. So I guess you have to be careful with who you consider non-tendering. But, with Jake Irvin, age 29 season, so it's not like this guy's 24 and you're talking about, well, there's still a lot of upside with him. Under team control through the 2029 season. And yeah, I don't know, why you plow forward with him at this point. It is such a shame that Josiah Gray has become a total non-factor for this team this season, because you wonder how much different things might be if Josiah Gray was healthy and was pitching like we have seen him pitch. If we had 2023 Josiah Gray in 2026, what would we be talking about from a Nats starting pitching rotation standpoint? It is easy to forget this. It was not that long ago that the quote-unquote future of the Nats starting pitching rotation, was Josiah Gray and Mackenzie Gore. That's how we talked about the future of the Nats starting pitching rotation. Gray and Gore. Gore and Gray. And with Josiah Gray, it is like he has become a ghost, man. He has not had a true season since 2023. I know you guys get those weekly updates on how he is doing, but it feels like you're not getting updated at all. I mean, it feels like these updates just aren't of any real significance. There is zero discussion about him pitching for the Nats at the major league level this season. Nobody really talks about him. It's like he has disappeared, and it's just such a shame. And, you know, when we talk about a Michaelis or Littell or an Irvin or whoever else, it's just like, man, what if Josiah Gray was healthy and pitching well? Like, what would we be looking at in terms of this Nats season?
Yeah, it's a fair point, and something that I think a lot of people, including with the team, through most of spring training, thought he was going to be a factor this year, and it just hasn't happened. Now, here's the latest update on him. He did face live hitters for the first time, like 2 simulated innings in West Palm Beach the other day, and that's great. It's the first time he's done anything like that, but that's a long way from pitching in the big leagues. While we're on the subject, I might as well give you a couple other rehab updates on pitchers. DJ Hers threw a couple of scoreless, I believe, perfect innings for Harrisburg the other night, and the reports were very good on him. So remember, he was already starting his rehab a little while back and had to be shut down with a recurrence of forearm, I think, issues. Back out there on the mound and pitching well, that's good. Now, I mean, maybe we see him here at some point. I don't want to get too excited about that possibility, but at least it does appear that he didn't suffer some kind of major setback that's going to prevent him from pitching at all this year. That's good. The other one, this is more the long-term name to watch, but Harleen Susana made another rehab start for Wilmington on Sunday. 1 2/3 innings, 4 runs, 3 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Strikeouts good. Obviously, he throws the ball really hard. 4 runs and 1 2/3, not great. 42 pitches by him, 25 strikes. He's a long-term project, of course. Most importantly, is he healthy? That's the real key to it all. But once he gets over that health hurdle, now it's about, can he actually pitch well enough and be effective enough in the minors to work his way back up the ladder and into their plans in the future.
What about Connolly Early? Would you say it is more likely that he does pitch for the Nats at the major league level this season, or more likely that he does not pitch for the Nats at the major league level this season?
I think it's getting late for that to happen. I don't think it's impossible, but he'd have to make some real progress here soon. It kind of reminds me of when they traded for Mackenzie Gore, when the Soto trade. Remember, he came in with an elbow injury. The idea was ramp him up, see if you can get him in there before the end of the year. And I think, if I remember right, he maybe made at least 1 or a couple of minor league rehab starts at the end of that season, but did not pitch in the big leagues, kind of by choice. They didn't think it was necessary. I could see that maybe being the case with Early. We don't know how this new front office approaches things like that. They may say, hey, if he's healthy, we want him to pitch in a Nats uniform and get that out of the way and, you know, set him up for next year. I don't know. But while he has made some progress here lately, and it sounds like the signs are good, we're, 6 weeks away from the season being over. So that's a lot to ramp up to before then. Not impossible, but state of the team, the importance of him in the long run under club control for 5 more years. I don't think they will push that. But if nothing else, if he is able to, I think they would have him make some minor league rehab starts just to make sure everything is good before he goes home for the winter.
Well, we danced this dance with Gray last season, right? Where we talked about whether he would pitch for the Nats at the major league level before the end of the season. He did not, but he was pitching in the minors, and it was kind of like he doesn't need to pitch in the majors to prove that he's doing better. It's comical to look back on that now, but this was kind of what the conversation was regarding Josiah Gray a year ago at this time.
Yeah, no, you're right. I remember thinking to myself, like, hey, it would be really good to get him out there just so we can see, yes, he can still pitch. And he can go into next spring and be 100%. Well, he didn't. He came into the spring and we saw what happened. And now we see where we still are waiting for him to pitch after all these years.
Well, next up for the Nats is a 3-game series at the Texas Rangers. So the Nats have listed the following starting pitchers as probables for the series. Game 1, Tuesday night at 8:05, Jackson Kent. Game 2, Wednesday night at 8:05, Cade Cavalli. And Game 3, Thursday night at 8:05, Andrew Alvarez. You tell us what you think. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email us natschatpodcast@gmail.com. This installment of Nats Chat is brought to us by our good friend Tim Newmark. Tim is the composer of the Nats Chat theme song. You could check out Tim's work at his website, timnewmark.com. That's NEUMARK.com. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
Now the 2-1. Meneses hits one to deep left center field. Does he have another one? Back goes Ortega looking up, and there it goes. Joey Meneses hits one about 7 rows deep into the bleachers in left center. Another home run for the Nationals rookie sensation, Joey Meneses. 2-0 Nationals, home run number 4 in his first week in the big leagues.